Good day, everyone. Welcome to Live and Raw Business Breakthroughs. I am super excited to have with us today a very special guest. She is in the same space that I am. We're trying to make a difference in the world by creating abundance. So let me introduce to you guys Marilyn. Marilyn is a profit attraction expert and is a former business consultant for the Small Business Development Center, the SBA. She's helped countless small businesses identify their strengths, recognize their weaknesses, and develop strategies that banish profit stumbling blocks. With over 20 years of sales and marketing expertise, combined with the ability to understand and alleviate head trash that undermines even the most determined business owners, and I know all about the head trash.
So do I.
Marilyn's advises companies on how to develop and implement sustainable revenue roadmap that navigates a clear path to business and personal success. Marilyn's been featured in the LA Times, Orange County Register, and the OC Metro magazine. Marilyn's professional background includes over 10 years as a corporate trainer for international companies such as American Honda and the AAA, the Chicago Motor Club. Miss August holds a master's degree from the Northern Illinois University, and her motto, grow yourself, grow your business. So welcome, Marilyn, to our podcast. I'm excited to have you here today.
Thank you. That was quite a long introduction.
That was awesome. You've got quite a history in the realm of helping businesses. So let's maybe talk a little bit. What got you started into this space?
What got me started in the space was an evolution rather than a revolution.
Okay.
I was one of those people, a corporate career sounds like a dream jobs. Well, I was one of those people who never ever fit in. I was like a square peg in a round hole. And I went on this, and I tell people be careful about this. I'm still there on this self-help journey. I was going to fix me. Something was wrong with me because I never fit in. And yeah, you're laughing. I was very serious at the time. And I discovered my first real mentor and teacher had a 6-week program that I took and made my own. And it was basically on what we would now call the inner game of money. It was.
How long ago was that?
How long ago was that? Probably longer than you are old. You were probably a child.
But I'm not.
And well, it was a long time ago. I never knew anything about business. I didn't know anything about sales marketing. Actually, the story is that I signed up for a sales training program, which you're probably very familiar with, because it was the only one that wasn't a weekend wonder course. And I became a student of sales. I thought I had the greatest thing in the world, and people would just line up and want to enroll in my training and everything would be great. And boy, did I learn the hard way that the world revolves around sales and marketing. You can have the best product in the world. So I became a student of sales, and I was attracting salespeople and business owners to my 6-week program. When the 6 weeks was over, they were saying to me, well, now what? And with my training background, I said to them, well, let's do another training. Let's do a business plan. Let's get the left brain involved. And they said, no, we want you. And I had been a business consultant for the Small Business Development Center, the SBA. I like to tell people the government hired me because I knew nothing about business. And that's where I learned the marketing part, the financial part, all the parts that are other than head trash, but have a lot of head trash around them.
Yeah.
And so I, for a very long time, did one-on-one business. I didn't even call it coaching at the time. Business consulting, business advising. Coaching has become like the word vanilla. So yeah, I'm very careful how I use it. And a couple things happened. I'm giving you the long story, Wes. You probably didn't know the long story, but
that's fine. It's kind of getting to know who your backstory. Like whenever we talk about successful businessmen or women, there's always a backstory of grind, hustle, overcoming obstacles, all that stuff. And so that's important for us, I think, as listeners and in the audience, people that want to get to where we are or get to where we want to go. We have to know what kind of stuff we had to overcome, right?
Yes, and I'm giving you the very short version without the drama. There was a lot of drama. When I started speaking, they told me that my story wasn't important. There was a lot of drama in there. The reason I was working for the government is because I wasn't attracting clients. I didn't know anything about sales and marketing, and nobody was showing up. So yeah, when I say it was revolutionary, I left off the drama. So you can ask me all you want about the drama, but what happened is technology came and reared its ugly head. And I discovered, the cold call is dead. So a lot of what I was coaching on sales and marketing was no longer accurate, no longer applying. That's how I got involved with LinkedIn marketing for the last 5 years. And then I realized, and we can talk a lot about LinkedIn if you like. Pardon me?
Absolutely. I think all our listeners would want to hear more about, because like you said, cold calling's dead. I don't know anybody.
It's over. I don't care. There are still sales trainers training that. The call through rate's about 3%. I myself personally have 2 call blockers on my phone. I get so many robocalls, but that's enough.
Yeah.
We got off its track. So I was doing LinkedIn profiles. I had just thought I'd be SEO for LinkedIn. Talk about grinding and making mistakes. Got this brilliant idea that I would drive profile views for my clients and everybody would want to do business with them. Well, a couple things happened. The profiles were really lousy. LinkedIn started as a job board. I don't know if everybody knows this, but they were encouraging resume style profiles. There are a lot of LinkedIn gurus would skip that step. I actually did the writing, which led to developing a lead gen program. Now, here's what your listeners should know. It doesn't work. It doesn't work without a strategy.
No.
So people were getting pissed at me. They expected LinkedIn to do all the work. There's too many gurus out there over-promising and under-delivering.
I've been there and tried some of them.
You know what I'm talking about. It's a tactic without a strategy. I've learned the hard way, just doesn't work. And so I was the recipient of the blame game. I think one of my favorite examples, I'm telling on myself, is I had this client and he insisted that he was going to do video posting, that talking head videos, that's the way to do posts. So part of my agreement is I was doing posting for people, for my clients. I was ghosting as them doing the posting. So he sends over this video and it's really bad. His head's in the camera. He's talking with his hands. It's long, it's boring. And I made the mistake of being a coach and I gave him feedback. Well, needless to say, he did not appreciate my feedback. He was pissed off.
Right.
He thought he had the greatest video series in the world. Obviously, I lost him as a client. And his campaign didn't work. And instead of looking at his videos and saying, maybe I need to fix this. What's the strategy behind these videos? What am I saying? How am I saying it? You blame me.
For sure.
So I have just, and that's why we're in the same space. I've just realized that while LinkedIn's great, it's a great lead gen and you really don't have much choice but to use it. It's not the name of the game. The name of the game is having a strategic, complete coaching program where you can get your roadmap. That's what you and I are up to, is we're up to giving people roadmaps. So that's the long version without a lot of the drama, but I do have some LinkedIn expertise if you want to. I have a whole list of LinkedIn worst practices. I've got a whole file full.
Let's jump into that. Let's maybe ask, based on, some generalities, and I know there's all kinds of different businesses out there, but what would you recommend, or what would you suggest to a listener as a strategy for LinkedIn?
First of all, to understand what LinkedIn is. LinkedIn is a virtual handshake. It's not a sales platform.
Oh,
now,
sorry, I've been pitch slapped quite a few times on LinkedIn.
Here's why it's happening. When Microsoft bought LinkedIn a few years ago, I think it's now about 3 years, they pay like $6 billion. And their game is to make LinkedIn in the image of Facebook. Now, Microsoft didn't ask my opinion on this. Microsoft wants their advertising dollars. It's much more expensive to advertise on LinkedIn than it is to advertise on Facebook. So that's another whole conversation. But you'll notice the quality of the posts are changed. They look more like Facebook posts than LinkedIn, than professional posts. So the number one thing to remember about LinkedIn is it's a virtual handshake. If you're a commodity and you're pitching on price, maybe buy an ad. But people have a psychological, just like you do and just like I do, there's something about LinkedIn. We have a psychological reaction to being pitched on LinkedIn. It's offensive. It's really offensive.
It absolutely is.
It is. It destroys your brand.
Well,
it just destroys your brand.
And let's maybe talk about that, because that's one of the most annoying things about LinkedIn. When I connect with someone on LinkedIn, it's a real simple, warm welcome saying, hey, thanks for connecting with me. I'd love to get to know more about you and your business in the coming months. Let's connect for a coffee, or a virtual coffee. And I leave it at that. Now, the exciting part about that is some people connect, some people don't, which is fine. I'm okay with that. The important thing is I try to get back. But then there's the folks that I connect with, and then the first message that comes out of their mouth, so to speak, is a pitch. And so I've coined those pitch slaps, and I don't know exactly where I got pitch slapped the first time.
I like that.
But I actually, as a coach, I take offense to that. So I've been replying back to these folks that pitch slap me. And I say, well, listen, don't you think it'd be really good to get to know me, to see if there's a good fit before you pitch me? And I've had a couple of conversations where they got all pissed off, and they said, that's fine. I don't need to do business with you. I'm just trying to help you do your business better. You don't want to do it that way. That's okay. Keep pitch slapping people and burn yourself. That's fine. I'm okay with that. What is your take on it? What do you think, Marilyn?
Well, I totally agree with you. And I said psychologically, it's just a turn up. I've come to the point, Wes, where I ignore, I'd say 90% of them, because what I know is that they're bot messages. There's not a human being sending that message, the pitch message. There are some LinkedIn gurus who are doing that and doing it very poorly. And the 10% that I do answer, I usually do a snarky answer. I usually do something that's to see if they'll bite.
Right.
Because they're not the kind of people you want to do business with, and some of them you can't help. So I've learned to ignore them, unfortunately. And LinkedIn is really unhappy about it. It doesn't. They will. You think the Facebook police are bad? The LinkedIn police are really chomping down on that stuff. If you get reported as spam, and there are people who are pissed off enough to report you, particularly if you're using InMail. One of my pet peeves is them using InMail as to pitch. When they're pitching on InMail, you can report that as spam. You get reported enough, they'll pull your account, and there is no appeal.
Oh, wow.
The other thing, the other thing to watch out for is pending invites. If you're sending out, I think their limit, I wouldn't send out more than 15 or 20 invites a day if you're doing that. If you've got a lot of pending invites, don't ask me how I know this. They will put you into LinkedIn jail. They don't.
What is LinkedIn jail? Because I think I might have been there, but I'm not sure.
You can't connect with anybody. You can't message. It's basically you're allowed. I think there's different degrees, but all I'm saying is that they're, unfortunately, you know, they're not doing the things they need to do to upgrade the platform, but they are watching those two things. They are watching for spam, and they are watching for, and I forgot what the number is, but you've got a lot of pending invites.
Right.
Their algorithm's going to take a look at that.
Yeah. Interesting you mentioned that, because I do all my own LinkedIn stuff, and it's time consuming. I do maybe
It is very time consuming.
20 or 30 every other day. I don't get on it as often as I'd like to, right? But you know, I was just talking to a company in I'm going to say El Paso, Texas, that does prospecting on LinkedIn, and they were talking, you know, up to 1,500 connections a month, right? A month. And I'm going, okay, how do they get around that? How do they get away from, you know, the LinkedIn police? So, you know, having said, we talked about, you know, getting shut down, getting pitch slapped, and, you know, all the bots that are out there doing all the posts for you. How would you recommend a business owner use LinkedIn effectively so that they can start doing those effective handshakes?
Okay, so the first thing to know, and Wes, this is as a friend, don't hire these people till you talk to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I probably have a better program anyhow. How can you effectively use it? Once again, I'm going to go back to my mantra of having a strategy.
Yeah.
So 2 things of a strategy are your messaging. God, there's so much to say here. There's your messaging and your market dominating position. And when I used to do profiles, this kind of segues into sticky profiles. When I
What do you mean by profiles?
Your profile is what a connection is going to look at. That profile that says the about section, your headline, your branded background. The about section is your personal branding. It's your market definition. We call it your market dominating position.
Yep.
Call it your unique value proposition. If you aren't clear on the value you bring to your prospects, that's number 1. You have to have the ideal that offer that you make. What's different about you? So for example, I've worked with realtors, and it would seem, well, you know, that's a highly regulated business. They're all the same. And they all use the same words. They all use their same slogans. You know, anytime I see a profile that starts with, I love, or I'm passionate about, or I give good customer service, well,
it's expected.
Who doesn't? Yeah, I mean, come on. I don't care. I've actually, some of my snarky replies now, that I didn't think we were going to talk about LinkedIn, but now that I think about snarky replies, when I get one of those that says I love, and I write back saying, I don't care what you love. You know, the old Zig Ziglar, nobody cares about you until you care about them, until they know about you care about them. So I would write back, I don't care what you love, right? You know, you better give me good customer service. I mean, that's what I see on a lot of the about sections on profiles. That's the part I meant. So if you don't have that strategic, you don't have that strategy, and also who is your ideal client? Who are you looking for on LinkedIn?
So should you be very specific who that is, or can you be a little more broad to open the
You
market?
can be a little more broad. We do both the demographic, and I call it a psychographic.
Yeah.
Call it a psychology, what motivates this person. Now, in Sales Navigator, you get 10 filters. It doesn't mean that it's going to translate into Sales Navigator. But what I think the major mistake is, again, tactics without strategy. So how would you effectively use it? I think it's a great lead gen tool, but it's what I call, and I probably should bring up my LinkedIn training to show you.
I think that would be great.
We could do that another time.
Well, we could always do another interview, right?
Yeah, we could do another interview where I just bring those slides up. Because what I was going to say is it's pull marketing. And I use this analogy. You know, in the olden days, what I would do is, you want to go to a new restaurant? You know, did you ever try a new restaurant? You would go to the restaurant and go in the door, and maybe somebody told you about it. Maybe you got a referral. Someone said this is a good place to eat, and you go and try it and see if you like it. And if you liked it, you came back. And if you didn't like it, you chalked it up to, well, okay, cross that one off.
Yeah.
Well, today we don't do that. We don't try anything. I was wanting to go to a new sushi restaurant. I'm sitting in the parking lot looking at the door. You're laughing already. You know what I'm going to say. What everybody does. I'm sitting in the parking lot looking at the doorway and saying, wait a minute, this isn't a strip center. This isn't a strip center. It's raw fish. Am I going to try this place? No, I'm going to go to Google and read the reviews. I'm going to collect information. I'm going to know much more about that restaurant before I ever walk in the door.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And yeah, first of all, there were a lot of reviews. 99% of them were fabulous. I talked about how wonderful the staff was and how they help you understand the menu. And the price was right. And I walked in the door. Now use that analogy for LinkedIn. It's called content marketing.
Right.
We call it engagement and educate. So it's proving your expertise before a person will trust you enough to even have a conversation.
That's right. That's right.
So if you have an education strategy, then LinkedIn's a great place to post valuable content. After you've done your personal brand, after your profile looks like your mini website, and this is why I don't understand, even though writing profiles is really hard, particularly when it's really hard. I was basically
giving mine after this now, though.
I will. I was basically giving branding away because the about section is really your personal brand. And that was a difficult concept to get people to understand.
Oh, sure.
Was personal branding, because no matter what people buy, they buy from you. That's blunt, sales 101.
As entrepreneurs, though, we hate to, and I'd like to think it's a Canadian thing, but I'm talking to enough folks in the U.S. with me expanding into the U.S. that it's unanimous. I'm going to say unanimous. I can't even pronounce it now.
Just say what you want to say.
It's everywhere that business owners do not want to brag about how good they are at what we do, right? And I don't know if it's because we were brought up that, you work hard, let the work show for how good you are at what you do, and we don't brag about it. But if you're the business owner and you're not bragging about how good you are at what you do, who's ever going to know? Especially in social media, nobody will know how good you are at what you do.
Okay, so this may be a Canadian thing, but I'm gonna ask your permission to coach for a moment because this is really
Absolutely.
a great coaching moment. The word brag. If you can erase that from your head trash,
Oh yeah, for sure.
there's a difference between personal branding. I already know your value proposition to a great degree, probably more than you do, which I used to say we're too close to our forest to see our own trees.
That's right.
So that may be more of an issue for you. It has nothing to do with bragging. It has the ability to, and this has been one of the most difficult things in about writing profiles, is to take the intangible and make it tangible. To wrap words around what's inside your heart, what's inside your head. I literally pull it out.
Right.
You have your headline from chaos to clarity. If you took that and expanded that into a personal brand and really defined chaos for people, that has nothing to do with bragging. That has to do with living a purposeful life. Has to do from your experience. So where do business people find chaos would be what you might specialize in. So for example, I find chaos because I feel like there's not enough hours in the day. So I bet you I talk to my dog all the time about it. My dog's really good about it. We go out to the park in the afternoon. I start my mornings with my dog because I de-stress in the park in the morning, get my day set up mentally. But then I come home back to the office, which is home office, and I say, there's not enough hours in the day. And so what happens is the self-critic comes in, and so it has nothing to do with bragging. It has to do with making the intangible tangible. And that's what you're talking about. You don't want to sound like, and it wouldn't sound like that, but you look at the core value that you bring. I just feel more confident being around you. I don't know if you are confident or not, but it's got to do with the C. See, if I was working with you, what we do is get out my list of 100 verbs or something, and we go through all the C's and pull out the ones that were the define you. So what a personal brand does is it defines you as a human being. And that unique something that I used to call a gift.
Right.
That's why it sounds like bragging to you, because it's inside of you. Well, and so putting words around it, writing and that's why so many of the gurus skip the profile. Well, which makes sense.
I think you're absolutely right there. I use the term bragging because I'm trying to get the head trash of my clients to see that, they don't want to do that because they think it's bragging. And then really it's not. It's getting exactly what you said, the intangible out into the tangible, so that everyone can see how good we are at what we do. So that now there's this awareness, right? Google reviews, right? The good, yes, the bad, the ugly, right? And if that's not out there, nobody's going to hear about it, right? And then, I don't know about you, but I've been a big supporter for a long time, actually, of Dan Kennedy and his magnetic marketing, where you spend $1 on advertising, get 2 to 20 back right away. And if you can't, don't do it. And I got into a big argument with my friend. It's been a long going argument about brand awareness and brand recognition, especially on social media. And him and I would get into these 2-hour long discussions about branding versus advertising. And I said, look, your brand's going to evolve over time. Don't spend money on it. It will grow with you as your business grows. Well, that might have been okay prior to 2020, right? Prior to social media. But what really hit me right square in the nose, I watched a really good Gary Vaynerchuk keynote speech at one of the lawyer symposiums he was doing just before Christmas. And he was talking about how technology is changing. And he essentially said, we're not going to be using our phones, right? They're not going to be doing searches on our phones for what we need, right? And I've done this with a few prospects where I've had them in the room talking about technology, and I said, hey, Alexa, order me a pizza. And they had an Alexa in the room trying to order them a pizza. And it's that audio technology that's going to change how we do business. And if we don't have social proof, we don't have that social currency with our brand on social media, Alexa's not going to find us, or whoever that new technology is going to be named, whether it's Siri or Alexis or Frank. It's not, we're not going to get found. So we need to have that social proof, that social content on social media, as well as the advertising and stuff to go with it. But we have to have that. It has to be a full package deal.
They're two different animals, and I don't lump LinkedIn with the rest of social media. Facebook is consumer driven. Their algorithms are brilliant. All I have to do is go to Google and look for something, and I get 20 ads on my feed. So LinkedIn is supposed to be business to business. I notice it's more B2C. Advertising is, just like advertising on TV or radio, it's attention getting. It's a slogan, it's 30 seconds. It's an interrupt. You want to interrupt the person so they look at what you have to see. But and advertising's changed too. That little DVR that I have, I'll tell you a quick, this may not appeal to have anything to do with anything we're talking about, but I'm a dog person, obviously. I'm talking about my dog. And I have this little DVR thing, and I scroll through ads. I will stop the ad if it's the Subaru ad with the dog family. Actually, go back and watch the Subaru. Does that mean I went out and bought a Subaru? I've only seen the same ad, 100,000 times?
Right.
I just think the golden retrievers are cute.
Right.
And I watch the golden retrievers, and when I get ready to buy a car, maybe I might take a look at a Subaru. Yeah, they've got other things, non-commissioned salespeople, but they've interrupted my DVR.
Yeah.
That's all they do with advertising. If you want to engage, like a connection, people are going to look at your profile. In LinkedIn, the connection, or the first thing they're going to do is look at your profile. I had a meet, and I chattering 100 miles an hour. I had a connection with somebody on a different platform the other day, and I'm probably going to step right into doo-doo here. And the first thing, and I couldn't remember why we were meeting. So I went to his LinkedIn profile, and okay, who is this person? So I had his name so I could do a search. He had a one-line about section, and this is where I'm getting into deep doo-doo. He talked about his relationship with God in that one line. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, except that he's branded himself as only wanting to do business with people that believe as he does. It doesn't position him And LinkedIn in his wisdom made it a 2-line default before I have to click. I don't know what programmer decided to do that. But that's neither here nor there. It wasn't the fact that he believes in God, bless his heart. It was that he positioned himself that way. And if that's a turnoff to anybody,
It rules them out of a potential client for sure.
yeah. And so if you believe the way he believes, that's fine. But a 1-line about section, I don't know anything more about him. Very nice guy. We had our meeting. Nothing, nothing personal here. It was, this is what I mean by a branding exercise. And this is what you mean by a branding exercise, is if you want to engage somebody, your profile better be outstandingly interesting and well positioned, like your headline.
Mm-hmm.
Your headline's excellent. Easy to read. I mean, I have 4 or 5 things, but when you asked me how would a business owner best use LinkedIn, it's to make those connections and to display themselves as an expert. Know, like, trust.
Yeah.
And the strategy for my clients was always a phone call, just like for you. If you're selling a commodity, it doesn't matter that you're the expert. So, I mean, I could go on, and I have gone on and on, but you asked me a difficult question. How's the best thing? So it's really an educational platform.
Well, I got 2 pages of notes on that. So that was pretty good stuff. Pretty good stuff.
And that's why we're posting, and post relevant, important. I don't care what you had for dinner. I really don't.
So relevant. So Facebook, leave the posts for, what you had for dinner and what you're doing with your family.
Well, unless you have a business page on Facebook, then I would post the same content as LinkedIn.
Okay.
If you're gonna write a post on LinkedIn that's business related and displays your expertise, then I would repost it on Facebook and possibly Twitter. I stay away from Twitter just because I just stay away from Twitter.
It's a lot of political gossip, I think.
Yeah, I don't bother.
I get caught on it with the political gossip, and then I get
I do that in the evenings. I do that with my group that watches a certain TV program. But that's another point on LinkedIn. Keep your religion and your politics to yourself. I'm surprised at how many political posts I see on LinkedIn. It's just a brand destroyer. We should have a whole podcast on brand destroyer.
Right. Well, we've got a few minutes left here. We've got
only a few.
We got 20 minutes left. Why don't we talk about that brand story? Right? Because I think you're right. I think there's a lot of people out there that need to understand how do we do the brand? How do we make this story count? Because at the end of the day, and one of the biggest struggles I have with my clients is helping them to figure out their messaging, help them to figure out what their story is. When I go back, I'm going to go back 10 or 12 years ago when I was in my oil and gas business, and I got my first coach involved with me trying to grow my oil and gas business.
What business?
I ran an oil and gas business. I was in
gas.
Industry. We were a service company doing environmental protection stuff. And they said, well, you have to figure out what your core story is. And believe it or not, we go back to the concept around our personal brand and about the intrinsic to make it trinsic, right? And I didn't know what that looked like until I started talking about, how the idea was even born. Like, why did I even get into that business? What started it all, right? And once I got that, kind of down, then everything else in the marketing kind of went from that story, and people started to buy into it. And then we had an offer, right? We had an offer that was, and I found it here the other day. Do I have it here? No, I don't. It was garbage. It was terrible. It was a 3-page report on the three biggest mistakes oil and gas companies make when it comes to environmental protection. And I don't remember what the first two were, but the last one was they didn't hire Western Canadian Containment to do their stuff, right? And I gave some reasons why. But there was red and yellow, like red printing, big, bold yellow background behind it, so it stood out like a sore thumb. Some pictures of oily birds and some other stuff, and it looked terrible. Like it was not professionally done because I did it. But that report got us into doing lunch and learns with a number of oil and gas companies and engineering firms that were working on projects. Instead of doing one-to-one meetings to get business, we were doing one-to-many, right? And that's how we were able to take our business from 700,000 in revenue to 2.5 million in 24 months, because we had the leads coming in the door that we could close on, right?
So there is no new news. We've just gone virtual with it. So you did a written report, and now we're basically your posts take the place of a written report. The thing is, if you have nothing to say, I often say nothing.
Right.
So you're absolutely right. It's a matter of pulling the story, and I do mean uncovering the story, uncovering the purpose and passion. I left a lot of the drama out of my story on purpose for time's sake. But you know, the why, there is a whole book, Start With Why.
Yeah.
And the why is still the driving force in marketing. And more so. So what I was going to say about LinkedIn is it's pull marketing. It's pulling people to your expertise, pulling people to your particular service or product. Like you did with your report, demonstrating your expertise. So brand destroyers are politics, religion, dumb posts. I'll pull something off of TikTok or Facebook. I see more those motivational posts, and I have a whole book of quotes. I mean, I'm very quotable in my seminars, and I post one on Fridays just for fun. But if that's your whole game, you're not bringing any value. It's a value proposition. Are you bringing credibility? Are you bringing value? I know this. Can you interrupt somebody scrolling enough to read what you have to say? And you have to say it succinctly these days. That's another thing that's changed. When I first started writing blogs, it was typically 1,800 words. Now 500 words. And a post is less. By the way, that's another change that LinkedIn made. And I don't understand why. You can either post or you can write an article. An article is longer. A post will get more exposure. So it shows up in your feed automatically.
Posts are 800 words max. I tried that the other day.
Make them 500.
So what would be better on LinkedIn? Should you do a little bit of article and posts, or?
Yes, actually. Okay, this is another new thing that we should learn, and maybe you and I can talk about this offline. LinkedIn has a new algorithm, or not a new algorithm. LinkedIn has an algorithm, and it's called dwell time. The more eyeballs on your post, the longer they stay, the more likely your post is going to get moved up in the feed.
Okay.
I just thought for the longest time, if someone was connected with you, they saw your post. That's not necessarily true anymore.
Interesting.
And there's a lot of go-arounds, but you should be, I used to tell people, don't bore people by posting every day, but 3 times a week should be a minimum to get you up in that algorithm. I've also gone and done posts that are slideshows. If they're clicking through the slides, you've got more dwell time. It's just something I learned technically. that I didn't know.
So what about doing a video post, like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
I think 5 minutes is too long.
Okay.
I think a minute and a half to 2 minutes is plenty. And be careful of the quality of your videos. How many of you scroll by, Wes, who are talking heads?
Yeah.
In other words, when you see the feed, what you see is their talking head.
Right.
So
I'm guilty of some of that because just because the way I sit in front of my computer, and I'll just share, I'll have last week I did Profit 101 for my podcast, and I threw it up on LinkedIn as well. But maybe what I should be doing is just a quick 30-second intro, go to YouTube, watch the podcast, right?
oh, no, if you're putting a podcast on, that's different. That's not a talking head video. That's a podcast. And I think that I would start looking at it, whether or not you can qualify for LinkedIn Live, which is another whole strategy.
Right.
So LinkedIn's a complex platform, and there's a lot to learn about it. But as far as the key to any LinkedIn success is your profile and your strategy and messaging. Like your welcome message. Thank you for connecting with me. Do you want to get to know each other? Let's set up a half hour. I also don't understand those 15-minute phone calls. But that's just me. I have a lot to say. But really,
15 minutes, and it's one-sided conversation is what it ends up being.
Yeah, one-sided conversation. So it's a tactic that needs a strategy to support it. And I like what you did with your gas and oil company on having that report and having it be, you did the same thing. Use the report as a credibility factor. You set up lunch and learns, which we can't do right now, and you engaged people with you. So it's virtual, but there's nothing different. The major brand destroyer is pitching. And what did somebody send me? They sent me a connection, and they sent me a video about me in the messaging. I didn't watch it.
And
so
why would they send you a video of you?
About them.
Oh, okay.
About them.
Yeah. No, like for sure. It's I think you're right. I mean, LinkedIn is a place where we get to know, like, and trust those that we think we want to do business with. Right. And if we're not willing to have that conversation, if they're just going to pitch or we're just going to pitch, don't even go there. Just, why even do it? Just do an ad on LinkedIn, or an ad on Facebook, or an ad on Instagram. Right.
And before we beat this subject to death, let me not ignore the photo, the round circular head.
Oh, your profile shot.
Yeah, your profile photo, critically important. I think one guy had a picture of him and his wife in that little tiny space. I suggested to him that wasn't professional. He was upset with me. You need a professional photo with not a fancy background. Like, I've got too much in this background for a LinkedIn photo. You've got too much in your background for a LinkedIn photo right now. There's not enough space, but it's worth doing right, because we're a visual world right now.
Well,
and we're getting more visual.
Absolutely, Werner. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, professional headshots are great. I think so. The other side of that. What about the banner, the headline photo, right? What should that look like? Should that be a banner ad, or?
That should be congruent with your branding. So it's really important not to leave that default white space.
Oh, yeah.
That's now green. I think they changed it from blue to green. And it's important. So usually when I wrote profiles, the banner was did last, because that was that their branding was defined in the profile about section. And then I did the banner. And I also, mine right now, I'm guilty. I just have my book cover and my words, but a visual is also very good in that banner. But I find people are trying to do too much with it right now. Remember, the left-hand side has your photo.
That's right.
So you gotta kind of, I use white backgrounds alike a lot because it blends, but I think I've seen so many these days that are busy, really busy.
For sure, for sure. Well, and so I've got a headline on mine. You know, maybe why don't we just bring it up for
What you
you?
want to do is, this wasn't going to be about LinkedIn. We were just going to chat about my drama.
You can pick it apart for me. I mean, I'm kind of excited about, and you know, I'm really glad that we're talking about LinkedIn, because I think LinkedIn is such a powerful tool that so many people are doing improperly. Right? Alrighty.
So now you're making me sorry that I left all that behind. But I haven't. I included in my coaching.
Right on. So let me just go back here. I'm going to share it.
Trying to do a screen share. Everybody, be patient.
Yeah, be patient. I'm a little slow.
Putting me on the.
So there we go. So there's my profile, right? And this profile is consistent with my Facebook business page and my personal page and stuff. But it's, you know, do you own a construction business? Are you wanting to create a legacy of sustainability, growth, and profit?
Now, if I were to be doing your profile, look at all the words. Where's my eye going to go? I have two. I would take those words. Do you own a construction business? Scroll down a little bit. Let me see your. Let me see the headline of the about section. Okay, I take that out and I put what you have on your banner there. Let me help sounds meaty.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it would be there. And particularly, people don't want to admit that they're financially suffering. Remember, I started my business all about money, all about, and sales have so much head trash about money. People don't want to admit that they're not perfect, particularly with money. So I take the whole thing about COVID off and put in your target, because your goal there in your about section, first of all, it's much, if you take the words off that banner, it's a much more attractive banner because it shows the earth, it shows what you're about. I might even have more of a construction type banner image there of
well, I had one of some business buildings, like downtown kind of stuff, with some green leaves and stuff, like a shot going up through the trees, and I kind of liked it, but I don't know, it didn't feel right. So
well, and that's another important thing about your personal branding. It's got to feel right.
Yeah,
got to feel right to you. But I would move that target market down into the first line, take the COVID off. And I have a particular bias, and this is my head trash. I have a particular bias about the word help. Okay. I don't want to admit that I need your help.
No.
At least not before I know you.
Nobody wants to admit they need help. I mean, that's one of the biggest roadblocks we have as business owners is right. Number one, you know, accepting that we need help and being willing to ask for help. I mean, there's a reason why I'm bald, Marilyn. I mean, this didn't come natural. I had to wear it off. I mean, I was banging my head on so many walls because I had so many roadblocks in my business trying to get it to that above the $1 million mark that, you know, I finally reached out to a couple of mentors and I was finally in a place. And this is probably, you know, this is why I focus on finding frustrated business owners to work with, is because if they're frustrated, they're in a place where they're open to taking some suggestions. They're open to change. They're willing to do what it takes. And that's where I was at, is that frustration. And I wasn't ready to get help until that frustration set in.
Pain point. It's a
Absolutely.
pain point in sales. So frustration, worried, concerned, fed up. Those are all pain points. And people aren't going to get help until they're there. But what I like about what you and I do when we do our assessment, our profit assessment, is we can take the emotions out of that pain. We can show numbers.
That's right.
And once you show numbers with no judgment and somebody else doing the math, and you're not judging, you're looking at the positive, what happens to the frustration and worry is concern is it's exactly what you say in your headline. It becomes a roadmap.
That's right.
Okay, you don't have to live in this frustration. And so it's the old Stephen Covey, start with the end in mind.
Mm-hmm.
I always, when I was doing profiles, was saying, what's your objective here? Do you just want this to be a LinkedIn presence, or do you plan to prospect on LinkedIn, or did the boss tell you you needed to do this? I actually had salespeople pay for their own LinkedIn profiles, even when they worked with companies, because they knew that they needed to be generating leads on LinkedIn. And I frankly, these days, I don't know what else you're going to do. You can't, I mean, we're networking virtually, we're doing everything virtually, and I think it's going to be a while before it comes back. So what do you have to lose using technology? And I thank you for trusting me to give you that feedback on your profile. But the reason I'm part of your group and part of the association that we belong to is because now we can do a holistic view of the strategy, and we start with the numbers.
Yeah.
And once you start and show people a roadmap and a path to getting rid of the frustration, to getting rid of the concern, to going to sleep without worrying, and they have the peace of mind before they even say yes to working with either one of us. So I would change the word help to I work with, or I partner with.
Help work with.
I have a buy. I don't, your client is not powerless or hopeless or helpless.
No, I mean, they're very capable.
Yes.
Very capable.
And I have to work with smart people. See, I have a psychographic of my ideal client profile. This is more important to me. And it reflects my personal biases. Like, I don't suffer fools easily. So my clients are fairly smart. They have to be smart, they have to be sharp, and they have to be ambitious. So I have all those things in my client profile. So that's another thing we didn't get to talk about regarding anything you do with personal branding. Your profile, your brand, everything you do should reflect or will reflect the person you want to attract, the companies you want to attract. Absolutely. So I'm glad you're in construction because you have that expertise.
That's right, for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Marilyn. You know, we're at the top of the hour here. It went by so quick. I know we could do another session or two for sure, just on LinkedIn alone as well. So that might be something that we can certainly look at doing here and going forward. But you know,
that was a surprise.
Like I said, I love having these conversations where it just goes where it goes. And I'm glad that that was something I didn't know about you, that you were a LinkedIn guru, LinkedIn expert. So, you know, I think that's, you know, in this day and age, especially with, you know, everybody being locked down with COVID, not being able to network in person, you know, what other tools and strategies do we have at our disposal? And I think by and far, by the way I get pitch slapped all the time, LinkedIn is not being used as effectively as it could be. And there's room to help that grow for sure. For sure. Well, again, thank you so much, Marilyn. I look forward to having you back on the show here real soon. We're going to talk more in depth about what else we can do with LinkedIn, because I think there's some powerful stuff there. Thank you again.
Well, thank you, Wes. You're an absolute pleasure, and I really appreciate being here. And maybe we'll get to the drum at some other point, but it's obviously not important.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how can people reach out and connect with you if what they hear on this podcast resonated with them and they needed to reach out?
Well, my email is real simple, Marilyn, Marilyn, at profitgps.com. Marilyn at profitgps.com. It's the easiest way. They can also connect on LinkedIn.
Awesome. So search for it.
Love to hear from them. Okay.
Awesome.
All right.
We'll after we get all this done, we'll put the links in the comments underneath the podcast there. So feel free to click the links below. Connect with Marilyn on LinkedIn. Connect with myself if you haven't already, and make sure you subscribe and like this podcast. Talk to you all later. Have a great day.